The power of a single intention becomes different when it is spoken on ***15 November ***. This day carries a weight that does not come from the calendar, but from the state of mind you choose to enter. When you wake up on 15 November, you stand at a threshold between who you have been and who you are willing to become. A single intention spoken with clarity can cut through confusion, doubt, and hesitation. It becomes a direction, a path, and a promise you make to yourself without noise or distraction. On 15 November, your words must not be soft, they must not be casual. They must be decisive, because this is a day that demands honesty. When you speak an intention on 15 November, you are not trying to control the outside world. You are deciding the quality of your inner world. The moment you choose one clear intention, the mind shifts. It stops wasting energy on endless possibilities and locks itself onto one line of movement. This is where real change starts. You remove the unnecessary. You cut away every excuse that has been silently guiding your choices. You become sharper, you become more awake, you become aware of how much of your life has been shaped by thoughts that were never chosen consciously. But on 15 November, you choose consciously. This is the power. An intention spoken today is not a whisper. It is a declaration. It is a moment where you look directly at your own patterns and decide which of them no longer belong to the person you will become after 15 November. This day is a reset, but it is not passive. You must speak with the energy of someone who is tired of repeating the same cycle. You must speak as someone who understands that one decision can create a new life direction. On 15 November, the mind becomes very sensitive to clarity. When you give it one intention, it organizes itself around that intention. It starts filtering your actions. It shifts your emotional responses. It redirects your attention. Everything becomes aligned when the intention is simple, strong, and repeated. This is why you do not need 10 goals. You do not need a long list of things to change. You need one intention that you are willing to honor again and again. The power lies in repetition, in focus, in your willingness to stay committed. The world does not change because you speak something. The world changes because you start acting in harmony with what you speak. And this harmony begins inside. On 15 November, when you speak your intention, you are telling yourself, this is who I choose to be now. The moment you choose, the internal conflict reduces. The doubts lose strength. The hesitation begins to dissolve. You free yourself from the weight of indecision. This is why a single intention on 15 November becomes so powerful. It breaks the cycle of mental noise. This day also carries a sense of urgency. Not urgency in fear, but urgency in awakening. There is a sharpness in the air on 15 November. It reminds you that time is passing whether you move or stay still. It reminds you that the days will continue, but the transformation happens only when you decide it. So when you speak your intention today, speak it with the awareness that you are choosing a new direction in real time. You are not waiting, you are not postponing, you are not hoping, you are choosing. The mind responds deeply to commitment spoken on a specific day. When you choose 15 November as the moment of direction, the mind remembers it. It uses it as a reference point. It becomes a mental anchor, a place you can return to whenever you begin to lose focus. You remind yourself, on 15 November I committed. On 15 November I chose the path. On 15 November I decided what I will no longer tolerate from myself. This memory becomes fuel. It becomes discipline. This intention must be simple, a single line that carries strength, something connected to your growth, your discipline, your awakening, something that brings you closer to the person you wish to become. When you speak it on 15 November, imagine you are planting a seed that will grow through every action you take after today, a seed that will demand care, effort, and consistency. Without that effort, nothing grows. But with effort, everything changes. On 15 November, your life will not shift because the date is special. It will shift because you decide to make it special. You decide to give this day meaning. You decide to speak words that carry weight. You decide to build yourself with intention rather than habit. This is how transformation happens, through deliberate choice spoken with unwavering clarity. So, on 15 November, speak your intention with presence. Speak it with strength. Speak it as if your future depends on it, because it does. Every transformation begins with a single moment of clarity, and this day is your moment. Let the intention you choose today guide your steps, sharpen your discipline, and open the path to the life you are ready to grow into. You don't wait for signs on ** 15 November **. You learn to recognize the signs that have already been surrounding you long before this day arrived. Most people walk through life blind to the signals that could guide them, strengthen them, or warn them. But on 15 November, everything becomes clearer. Not because the world changes, but because you finally decide to look with awareness instead of habit. This day opens a sharper vision. It forces you to slow down inside, to observe, to feel what has been trying to get your attention. A sign is not a miracle. A sign is not fireworks in the sky. A sign begins as something subtle, a sudden heaviness in the chest, a moment of silence in the mind, a repeated number, an unexpected emotion, a thought that keeps returning, a conversation that touches a wound you thought was closed, a small opportunity that keeps appearing. These are not accidents. On 15 November, these small signals become louder because your inner world wakes up. You begin to sense patterns that were invisible before. The signs you notice today will reveal the truth of where you are standing in your life. They will show you what you need to let go of, what you need to focus on, and what you are avoiding. When 15 November arrives, the signs are not pleasant or painful, they are honest. They reflect your internal state with precision. And this honesty is necessary if you truly want to grow. Most people ignore these signals because they prefer comfort over clarity. They prefer distraction over awareness. But on 15 November, distractions lose their power. This day carries a certain intensity that strips away the excuses. You feel things more deeply. You notice what you cannot hide from anymore. The patterns you've been repeating become obvious. The lessons you've been postponing demand your presence. The signs that appear on 15 November are invitations. Invitations to evolve. Invitations to break the cycle. Invitations to step into a version of yourself that is not guided by fear or hesitation. But the invitation requires your acceptance. You must be willing to read the signs without running away from what they reveal. There is a moment on 15 November where you pause and feel the shift. You realize that life has been communicating with you constantly through events, mistakes, emotions, and even the people you encounter. When you finally pay attention, everything begins to align. You see how one event led to another. You see how inner conflict created outer obstacles. You see how your avoidance created stagnation. Clarity becomes a form of power. Recognizing signs is not a mystical skill. It is the discipline of awareness. On 15 November, you practice this discipline by observing your reactions. What triggers irritation? What brings peace? What gives you energy? What drains it? These responses are signs. They tell you which direction your life wants to move and which direction you must stop walking. When you listen, you save yourself from repeating the same mistakes again and again. Every sign that appears on this day carries a purpose. A repeated thought might be a call toward a long-awaited decision. A heavy feeling might be a signal to release someone or something. A sudden clarity might push you to start something you have delayed. Signs point you toward the next step, but you must walk it. Growth begins when you trust the message. 15 November becomes powerful because it gives you a line on the timeline of your life, a point where awareness becomes non-negotiable. You look at the signs around you and understand that nothing is random. The challenges you face are not punishments, they are guidance. The opportunities you receive are not luck, they are alignment. The people you meet are not coincidences, they are reflections. When you look deeply at these signs, you begin to see a map forming, a map of your journey, a map of your inner landscape. And this map becomes clearer on 15 November because your intention to recognize the signs strengthens your perception. What you choose to observe expands. What you choose to understand becomes meaningful. This day teaches you to trust the subtle, trust the instinct that whispers, trust the repeated feeling, trust the quiet thought that rises again and again. On 15 November, your intuition becomes sharper, not because it suddenly appeared, but because you finally stopped ignoring it. The signs were always there. Today, you hear them. The truth is simple. Your life begins to change. The moment you stop dismissing the signals that are trying to guide you. 15 November is the moment where you pause long enough to receive them. This pause is powerful. It can shift the direction of your future. It can reveal the path you must take. It can expose the habits you must break. It can illuminate the version of you that is waiting to emerge. When you recognize the signs on 15 November, you step into alignment with your growth. You stop living on autopilot. You stop repeating unconscious patterns. You begin to walk with intention, with clarity, with strength. You understand that growth is not an accident, it is a choice, supported by every sign life sends you. So, on 15 November, open your awareness. Pay attention to what rises within you. Pay attention to what repeats around you. Pay attention to the signals that feel meaningful, heavy, or bright. These signs are not random, they are the direction you have been looking for. And when you finally see them, your life begins to change in ways that are undeniable, irreversible, and deeply transformative. There is a phrase that becomes a turning point on ***, 15 November, ***. A phrase that is not complicated, not poetic, but sharp enough to cut through your old habits. This phrase acts like a command you give to yourself. A reminder that discipline does not come from outside pressure, but from the choice you make in your inner world. On 15 November, this phrase carries more weight because you speak it at a moment when you are ready to shift from intention into embodiment. It is not a wish, it is not a hope, it is a declaration of who you will be from this day forward. On 15 November, when you speak this phrase, you must speak it with full awareness, not casually, not softly, not as if you are repeating something you have believed. You speak it as if you are waking yourself up. You speak it as if you are drawing a line that you refuse to cross back over. The energy of this day strengthens your words, but only if you speak them from a place of conviction. The phrase becomes powerful only when it is paired with honesty. This phrase is meant to awaken your discipline. It is designed to remind you that the direction of your life does not change because you want it to. It changes because you choose to control your inner state. And on 15 November, the choice becomes clearer. You recognize where you have been giving your power away to emotions that rise and fall without reason, to distractions that weaken your focus, to habits that drain your energy. This phrase cuts through all of that. It tells you I will no longer be controlled by the things that weaken me. You speak this phrase on 15 November because this day becomes a symbolic threshold. When you say it, you break the pattern of reacting. You step into the discipline of acting with intention. You step into the commitment of guiding your mind instead of letting your mind guide you. And once you say it with strength, it becomes very difficult to return to the old patterns. The phrase becomes a mirror. You see yourself clearly. You see where you must grow. You see what you must change. You see who you must become. On 15 November, this phrase activates something within you. It awakens the part of you that has been waiting to lead, the part of you that knows what must be done, the part of you that is no longer satisfied with excuses, procrastination, or emotional chaos. This phrase is not about motivation. It is about alignment. It tells your mind, from today I will move with purpose. From today I will not betray my own potential. From today I will act in harmony with the life I want to create. This phrase becomes even more powerful when you repeat it in moments of weakness. When you feel the urge to fall back into your old patterns, you speak it again. When you feel doubt rising, you speak it again. When fear begins to cloud your clarity, you speak it again. On 15 November, you set the foundation for this repetition. You anchor it deeply within yourself. Every time you return to it, you return to the decision you made today. The truth is simple. Without inner discipline, nothing changes. Without controlling your inner state, you remain stuck in cycles that steal your potential. On 15 November, this phrase reminds you that discipline is not punishment, it is freedom. Discipline frees you from confusion. It frees you from hesitation. It frees you from the weight of your own resistance. When you speak the phrase, you step into this freedom consciously. This day demands strength, and this phrase gives you that strength. It sharpens your focus. It directs your actions. It cleans your mind from unnecessary noise. It reminds you that self-mastery begins with self-command. Your life cannot shift until you take responsibility for the part of you that resists change. When you speak the phrase on 15 November, you are no longer negotiating with that resistance. You are overriding it. The phrase also teaches you to stand firmly within yourself. When challenges arise, you respond, not react. When emotions fluctuate, you stay centered. When distractions pull at your attention, you return to the path. This is the power you activate on 15 November. The power to remain steady, clear, and aligned. You no longer drift. You no longer bend to every impulse. You become grounded in your intention. Every transformation begins with a single decision spoken internally. And the phrase you speak today is that decision. The 15 November becomes the mark in your life where you choose discipline over chaos, clarity over confusion, strength over fear. You choose to guide your mind instead of being guided by it. You choose to take responsibility for who you are becoming. When you speak the phrase today, speak it with the energy of someone who is ready to rise. Speak it with the commitment of someone who is finished with stagnation. Speak it with the determination of someone who knows that their future depends on what they decide right now. On 15 November, let the phrase you speak become the foundation of the person you will build from this moment onward. Let it be the spark that ignites your discipline. Let it be the line that separates the old version of you from the new one. And once spoken, let it guide your steps every day after. On asterisk 15 November asterisk, the process of letting go becomes unavoidable. This day does not tolerate the weight you have been carrying for months or years. It exposes it pushes it to the surface, it forces you to see what has been slowing your growth, draining your energy, and weakening your direction. Letting go on 15 November is not an emotional gesture, it is a necessary act of self-protection, self-respect, and self-elevation. You do not grow by adding more. You grow by removing what blocks your movement. The energies you release today are not random. They are the parts of you that no longer support the person you want to become. On 15 November, your inner world becomes clearer, and with that clarity comes a realization. You have been holding onto fears that were never yours, memories that no longer serve you, and attachments that keep you small. This day invites you to cut those threads one by one, not gently, not slowly, but with a decisive mind that chooses freedom over familiarity. Letting go on 15 November means you stop negotiating with your old self. You stop entertaining thoughts that limit you. You stop feeding emotions that exhaust you. You stop giving time to people who drain your spirit. You stop revisiting the past expecting it to change. You understand that your life cannot shift unless you create space for something new. And this space only appears when you release what has been weighing on your inner world. You have to let go of fear first. Fear is a silent prison. It convinces you that change is dangerous, that new beginnings require too much risk, that staying where you are is safer. But on 15 November, fear loses its power because clarity exposes its true form. You see that fear has been the reason you stayed in situations that no longer grow you. You see that fear made you doubt your own strength. You see that fear kept you repeating the same patterns, expecting different outcomes. Letting go of fear on 15 November is the first liberation. Then comes the release of emotional weight, the disappointments you still carry, the anger you keep hidden, the regrets that quietly shape your choices. These must be dropped, not suppressed, not ignored, but released. Every emotion you refuse to let go of turns into a block inside your path. It steals space from new opportunities, new connections, new strength. On 15 November, you confront this emotional storage and decide, I will not allow old pain to define my new direction. The next release is attachment. Attachment to people who no longer align with your growth. Attachment to habits that keep you stagnant. Attachment to identities you've outgrown. Attachment to comfort zones that have turned into cages. Letting go of attachments on 15 November is not betrayal, it is evolution. You honor the past, but you stop allowing it to shape your future. You understand that growth requires separation from what cannot rise with you. When you let go on 15 November, something powerful happens internally. You lighten, your mind becomes clearer, your body feels less burdened, your decisions become direct. You feel a sense of space inside your chest, something you may not have felt in a very long time. This feeling is not imaginary. It is the absence of weight, the absence of resistance, the absence of emotional noise. Letting go creates a silence that allows your true direction to appear. This day teaches you that you cannot carry everything and still walk forward with strength. You must choose what stays and what goes. You must remove the unnecessary so the essential can rise. Letting go is an act of strength because it requires you to trust that what you release will make space for something better. And on 15 November, this trust becomes easier. You sense the shift, you feel the alignment. You understand that the universe cannot hand you anything new if your hands are still gripping the old. Letting go on this day also sharpens your discipline. It teaches you to detach from immediate emotion and act according to your higher intention. It teaches you that you are not defined by the past, but by the decisions you make today. It teaches you that self-growth begins with self-cleansing. When you empty yourself of what no longer belongs, you become capable of receiving what truly aligns with your future. This release is not dramatic, it is deliberate. You don't need a ritual, you don't need a ceremony. What you need is honesty. Honesty with yourself about what is holding you back, honesty about the habits you must break, honesty about the people you must distance yourself from, honesty about the thoughts you must stop feeding. Letting go on 15 November is the most powerful act because it is done in absolute truth. And once you release these energies, something new enters naturally. Clarity, calmness, direction, strength. These qualities have been waiting behind the door, but the door could not open while you were still holding on to everything else. On 15 November, you open that door. You give yourself permission to step into a version of your life that is lighter, cleaner, sharper, and more aligned with who you truly want to be. Letting go today is not the end. It is the beginning of a new space where growth can finally breathe. And once you release what has kept you stuck, your life begins to shift with a force that feels unstoppable. On **15 November the transformation becomes real only when your words turn into action. Speaking an intention on this day is powerful, but the true shift happens when you begin to live in alignment with the decision you made. This is the day where every action matters. This is the day where every step counts. This is the day where you choose to move differently, think differently, respond differently. Without action, intention remains a silent dream. But with action, it becomes a new direction in your life. On 15 November, the energy of your decision is fresh, your mind is sharp, your awareness is awake. This is why the actions you take today can create momentum that carries into the next weeks, months, and even years. One aligned step taken on this day has more power than 100 steps taken without clarity. Because today, your actions are rooted in your purpose. They are rooted in the intention you declared. They are rooted in the version of yourself you are trying to become. Taking aligned action means you stop waiting, you stop postponing, you stop giving your power away to hesitation. On 15 November, you understand that the perfect moment is not something you wait for, it is something you create. The moment you begin to act, your environment begins to respond. Life opens doors that were invisible before. You start noticing opportunities, connections, and signals that match your intention. This is not luck. This is alignment. Action activates alignment. On this day, you must make a move, a real move, not a thought, not a plan, not another promise to yourself, an action. Even if it is small, even if it is uncomfortable, even if it challenges you. What matters is that it matches the intention you spoke. When you say you want growth, you must act in a way that creates growth. When you say you want discipline, you must act in a way that builds discipline. When you say you want change, you must act in a way that demands change. 15 November gives you a rare clarity about what to start and what to stop. This clarity becomes your guide. It tells you which tasks you can no longer delay. It tells you which habits must end today. It tells you which decisions you must finally make. Do not ignore this clarity. On this day, your intuition and your intention are working together. They show you the next step. Your responsibility is to take it. Action on 15 November is not dramatic. It is precise. It is deliberate. It is focused. You do not waste energy trying to do everything at once. You focus on the one step that aligns with your direction. When you take that step, you gain momentum. When you gain momentum, discipline becomes natural. And when discipline becomes natural, transformation becomes inevitable. This day teaches you the most important truth. You do not need to change everything, but you must change something. The moment you take action, you tell your mind that you are serious, you tell your life that you are ready, you tell yourself that you are done repeating the same cycle. This commitment strengthens you. It grounds you in your intention. It prepares you for the challenges ahead, because growth is not a smooth path. Growth demands effort. Growth demands consistency. Growth demands action, even when motivation fades. On 15 November, your actions must come from a place of inner strength, not from pressure, not from fear, not from comparison. They come from your decision to live more consciously, more courageously, more intentionally. When you act from this place, your life begins to shift with a force you can feel. You sense yourself rising. You sense your potential awakening. You sense a new direction forming around you. Aligned action also teaches you responsibility. You realize that no one can walk the path for you. No one can discipline your mind for you. No one can build your future for you. On 15 November, you take ownership of your journey. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop waiting for signs to become bigger. You stop looking for approval. You begin to move from your own power. And this self-responsibility becomes the foundation of your transformation. Every time you act in alignment with your intention, you reinforce your new identity. You become the person you decided to be on this day. You begin to trust yourself more. Your confidence increases, because confidence is built through action, not words. On 15 November, this confidence becomes a spark that lights a fire within you, a fire that keeps you moving even when the path becomes difficult. When 15 November ends, the energy of this day does not disappear. It stays with you in the form of momentum. It stays with you in the form of discipline. It stays with you in the form of clarity, but only if you act. Without action, the day becomes a memory. With action, it becomes a turning point. So on 15 November, move, start, begin. Do the thing you have delayed. Take the step you have feared. Break the pattern that has limited you. Let this day mark the moment where your life stopped being shaped by chance and started being shaped by choice. Let your actions today become the foundation of a new beginning, a new strength, a new direction. Let them carry the power of your intention and the courage of your commitment. And once you act, continue moving forward with the same clarity, the same determination, and the same inner fire.